and say, they're not worth it. He gave his only son because he thought we were worth it. See, and today, the difference between those who are in the shallow end and the deep end are when we can go through incredible pain and tragedy and still possess a joy that only comes from God, the Spirit of God. Only. You know what I'm talking about? You ever been through something where you had to rely on something outside of yourself, something outside of your circumstance to bring joy to your heart? See, that's how you know it's from God. Because nobody in this world, nothing in this world, will ever satisfy like God does when He sends His Spirit to live in us. And we've got to look at that. We've got to lean on that. Friends, this text of Galatians 5, talking about the fruit of the Spirit, is rich. I want you to read it sometime as we go through each one of these steps. But one thing I want to ask you today, Christian, do you have joy? Do you know what joy is? Joy is not laughing all the time. Joy is not dancing or jumping around. It can be a result of that. Joy is that deep in the soul thing that transcends our pain, our circumstance, our emotions, and anything else that the enemy might try to throw in our way. Because I say this all the time, and I want to finish on this. It almost sounds a little weird when I say it, till I think about it. The reason that some people don't have joy is because they look at their circumstance and they think it's a reality. Michael alluded to this a minute ago. It looks like a reality to you, right? Whatever struggle, whatever pain, whatever you're going through. But when Paul talks about the confident hope that brings joy, he's talking about not a hope like, oh, I hope she's there when I get there. Or I hope we get to eat steak today. Or I hope, we're not talking about that. That confident hope is a standing on concrete rock, knowing that there is something different beyond this life, a hope of eternity. But see, most people don't live in that. You're looking at your situation, and we have a little disagreement. You will understand someday. I look back at some of these things that have been terrible in my life, because the wits don't experience tragedy. I mean, that's why my parents today regret having me. You know, because I'm the only one that's brought tragedy in our lives. I mean, we have a pretty clean slate until Derek showed up. I'm the only one in my family that's been divorced. I'm the only one in my family that, you know, has all these things happen to our family, right? And so it's like, yeah, I'm the one. And it's hard sometimes to say this. I believe this with all my heart. And if you're in the middle of a really tough time right now, a real working through something, please forgive me. I'm not trying to offend you or make light of your pain. I believe this with all my heart. Hear me out. Just hear my heart, please. I believe there's a day coming when we will look back at death and laugh. But when I look back at my buddy who I lost and who I cried over, and I still think about nearly every day, I will laugh that I was so upset that he was going to a place that none of us can describe. We can't even begin to imagine. I was talking about Emma's 4th birthday, Robbie, was Friday this week. Terribly hard for Robbie and Micah to walk through that day. For Micah, her birthday's one day, and the next day is the anniversary death of her sweet little girl. And so we always pray for them on that day because it's so hard. But I remember telling Micah on her birthday, you want to experience a little bit of joy in the midst of it? Think about what Emma's doing today. No suffering, no world on her, no stain of the enemy, no sin. Now look at our world, and our world is screwed up. And I think about heaven and the comparison of the two. And my friend, there will be a day when we look back at that and we laugh because we realize that that isn't reality at all. This is just a little drip in the bucket. This is nothing. And that's why God tells us to be careful how we live, because there's an eternity we're all going to step into someday, and we ought to be all about loving our neighbor and sharing our faith and investing in people, because we want people to be more like Jesus as they enter eternity. Friends, if you're playing in the world today, wake up. Joy will never be found there. You know how we see that? Because people who have everything we thought we would ever want, right? Millionaires, beautiful, paid for houses, land, everything, women, cars, jewelry. And you know what? It never, ever, ever satisfies, because it's not from God. It's from the world. Hear me, friend. There's only one thing in this world. You were made this way. You realize that, right? When you were created, God put this little thing in your heart. I don't know what we call it, a vacuum, an empty space. There's only one thing that can fill your need in your life. And his name is Jesus. He is the answer. So what are we going to sit around with today? Okay, so we want to leave you on a happy note. This is July 4th. This is the day you can be free. And thank God that you live in a country that is still free. At least for today. Right? We're gonna stand on that. But look, freedom comes in recognizing that as a believer, one day we will run out of that grave together and be with our Father for all of eternity. Let's start getting ready today. Stand with me as we end on this today.
I was buried beneath my shame, and who could carry that kind of weight? It was time till I met you. I was weeping, but not alive. And all my failures I tried to hide. It was mine till I met you. You called my name. that we